everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Dance Talk Realness, a podcast where we discuss all nuances concerning education and dance, because a dance experience is an experience worth talking about. I'm your host, Truly B, here with my awesome, as always, co-host, Daryl P.
Hey.
And today, we are joined by our special guest, Meredith Rabil Sibley, who is coming to us as a dance educator, a mover, someone who speaks so much life into people with body positivity. And that's actually what drew me to your page. And so before I just completely fangirl in this moment, because every post, I was like, yes, speak.
Good,
yes.
good. That's what I want.
Before I have that moment, if you would be so kind as to just go ahead, jump right on in and tell our audience a little bit about your dance background, how you got started in the field, and kind of your journey that got you to today.
Sure. I will try my best to not leave anything out. So I guess first and foremost, I am local to the DMV area. I was born and raised in Montgomery County. So I will say I started dancing a little bit later for my preference. I started dancing at around the age of 9. And I have to say that I was homeschooled. I just have to put that out there right now, because I think it's gonna come back. But so I started dancing just at local studios, taking classes, but I was also part of a homeschooled musical theater group. And they were sort of this umbrella that also, they were called HS Talents. And they also had dance classes and some acting classes along with this musical theater production that we would put on every year. And so I really got involved in dance and musical theater through them. And then coupled with the dance classes at the studio, that really kind of just nurtured my love and passion for dance and performing. So that's why I chose to major in it. And I started out at Montgomery College and was part of their dance program, always looking to transfer from there and move into a 4-year university. And I ended up at UNC Greensboro, so in North Carolina. And my dad is from Winston-Salem, and I had some relatives in Greensboro. So that was a draw for me down there. But I also just really love their dance program. It's one of those, you go and visit the campus and you just feel at home right away. And I was like, this was it. This is it. This is where I want to be. So I graduated from there with a Bachelor of Arts. I didn't do the BFA, but I did do the BA program with performance and dance education. And then I came home and I did some performing, auditioning and performing. I've been with a few companies in the area. Currently, I'm with Trajectory Dance Project, which is under the direction of Alice House. And she considers I think we're considered more like a Baltimore-based company, but have done some work in DC. But along with that, also, I've been teaching in education practically since I graduated. I started or taught in DC public schools. I taught in private schools. I did some work with in Montgomery County Public Schools, and then I landed in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. I'm at Northeast High School there, and I've been there for the last 8 years. So, yeah.
That sounds like such a fun journey.
It's been a long one, a long journey, and it's not over yet,
Oh, yeah.
So,
definitely in process.
Always.
It's just the tip of the iceberg. So fun that I went to East Carolina. And so when you said UNC Greensboro, I'm like, familiar.
I did look at ECU. That was one of the programs I looked at. And it was it was one of my top choices too. I just had to make that deciding choice between, where was I going to go? But I did really like ECU's program as well.
I will say, especially since you were able to concentrate both performance and education, you made the right choice. Not to be shady, but also you made the right choice.
That is good to hear. It's hard because I love, you want the artistic performance part of it too, but you've also got to figure out, how am I going to survive? How am I going to do this?
That is That is like always our big thing, that when we talk about, I think every time we mention anything about university dance, or we talk about like experiences in educating and going on to dance and that life afterwards, we always talk about like that whole piece of, those that do the whole performance route and then realize that they are like, I want to teach, but are terrible teachers.
Yes.
or the, I mean, just putting it out there, or those that like do like really focus on the teaching thing, but like when asked to create, when asked to perform, it's really difficult for those teachers to do that. And I think in every aspect, whether your future is 100% in teaching or 100% in performing, you have to have that Venn diagram.
You do.
That chunk where you're like, no, and then I can also do both simultaneously.
Especially, I would say, especially for what we're doing in the schools. You need that. I 100% agree. And it is a delicate balance.
Yes. Because I know, because I've shared my experience on here before, and it was amazing to me to be told that I didn't need the composition class because I was going to be doing education. And when I tell you, even before graduation, student teaching, and they're like, yeah, no, but we have the spring concert. And since you are the student teacher, you're going to need to have at least a piece. And I was like, oh. So guess what I should have been enrolled in? A composition class. Because from then all the way through to now, elementary, middle, high, college, I have had to choreograph.
I'm going to tell you, I have felt like a choreographing machine. Like there are some years that I'm like, I have nothing left because I have choreographed like 15 dances per semester.
Yes.
Like there is nothing left. I have no ideas. I've used every song. Like I have nothing.
Yeah.
I can't be original anymore.
Literally. And then we turn around and do it again the next school year.
Right.
And then you're like, you guys, this is the piece. This is the one. I've never done anything like this. It comes back.
Every single time. Like it's so crazy. And so it does make me happy to hear that that's a program that I can definitely tell people to consider, because both things are needed. And if they were able to really find that balance, actually that's also useful collegiate, because it's like, if someone is making that work, then okay, what can we take from that and adapt to work for our student body, but still provide that same type of balance.
I will say too, I was drawn to UNC Greensboro's program. It, to me, is almost like identical to Towson's program, actually. And I also got into Towson, and I was really trying to decide between the two. And I was like, really, like if you look at the tracks for like BA and BFA and the courses you need to take in order for graduation, and then get your sort of teaching certification and student teaching and all that, they are, I mean, this was a while ago, but I think I've looked at it recently. They're still like very well aligned. It just may be, of course, there's like differences in faculty and maybe like specializations from the two colleges, but it is one of those. It is one of the schools in North Carolina I really do recommend for dance education, like K-12. And I do have quite a few friends that were from there, of course, and they're teaching in the school systems. And I want to say kind of like the surrounding Piedmont, like Greensboro, Winston, like Raleigh, Durham area. They do have a pretty good or supportive like school system for dance education. I think at UNC Greensboro, they do hold some of like those like dance, high school dance festivals. So it's easy to do like your student teaching and then be able to go out and get a job in the surrounding counties as well, which is encouraging.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because, I would say a major university that is within PG County is UMD, and they do not have a very good or a very strong education program.
Mhm.
Like it's all
Yeah.
performance. And I'm just like, I don't know. That's just in a school district that is trying to pride itself
Yes.
in having a large dance presence. Like
Yes.
that the university that sits within the county does not, I mean, there could just be so many opportunities to feed those dancers into the schools. Now, granted, I think that educators that come out of there, I think if hopefully they've had ways and to get that experience, but you know,
Right.
if you don't have it, yeah, if you don't have it, then it's really hard. It's really hard to just come into the school
Absolutely.
system and teach. And I sometimes feel like I've noticed you can tell people who are not educators, dancers, but not educators.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I think I was originally one of those people, maybe. I don't know. When I was first starting out, I feel like it was a roundabout way. Like I had all the background in education. I will say, I think I didn't finish my certification. That's what it was. I didn't finish my certification in North Carolina. I came home and I was like, I think it was because I didn't want to stay there. So I was like, I don't want a North Carolina certification.
Mhm.
And so I finished my BA, but I didn't quite finish my K-12. And I had the education classes and everything, but I had to go that like roundabout route to get my certification, take all the extra classes here.
Mhm.
And I didn't do student teaching because I was at a private school and before I got my certification, and that sort of just counted like your experience teaching at the private school. They were like, well, you've already done it. So I didn't have a mentor, like a teacher mentor or which I think would have been helpful, but
same.
It's okay.
She was there.
Yeah.
Did she mentor though?
Yeah. So sometimes does that even matter then?
Yeah.
Like I think because I'm definitely an advocate for mentors when the pairing is right.
Yeah.
Because I'm like one of the mentors through NDEO. And this is my second round going through. I was part of the pilot program, skipped a year or two. And then I'm doing it again now. And thankfully, both times through NDEO, it's been a great match. I was actually just texting my mentee right before this because she has an observation Friday. And she's like, I can't. And I was like, it's okay. It's going to be fine. Like, let's talk through this. I was like, you know your stuff. So you can't worry about if the kids are going to behave or not, because the kids are going to do what kids do. So as long as you know what you're doing, you'll be fine. But when I was in the school system, the worst mentor ever was me, because I'm like, I won't check on you. Like, I will not do it. But if you need something, I'm like, text me, call me, email me, do whatever you need. I got you. But I'm not going to hound you for you to ask me for help. I'm like, if you need help, you're going to ask for help. Like, I just trust that that'll happen. Oh my God. It was insanity. And I'm just like, I'm also the one who I'll be like, okay, well, I mean, I don't actually care enough. Like, y'all not paying me for this right now. So I wish her well. I wish her well. However, she ain't asked, or she would ask someone else. And I'm like, y'all are free to make this other person her mentor, because we just, and it wasn't a like animosity thing. It was just, we didn't click.
Yeah.
But then I've had these other three who it was like immediate, like we've gone to each other's concerts, we've gone out to eat, like we've been like on the phone for hours, like sending lessons. And I'm like, I can also learn from them because they are fresher out of college. I'm like, oh, well, what's new? Like, what is something that you've been taught that I was never taught? And like,
yes, I always ask that question.
Yes, it's like the greatest exchange. And so I definitely see the value in it. But man, so many of us have made it out here without that. And I think that's why I enjoy it, is because I'm like, man, that struggle was real. Like, I technically had one, but didn't act like, I remember she went off on me like my last day or two
Okay.
of student teaching. And I was like, and that was my face the whole time, like, what is happening? Like, she was mad that I was leaving, and I'm like, but I gotta graduate.
Yeah.
What?
I can't stay here and teach your classes forever.
Like, I actually have to go. Like, I can't just be up in here. But she's like, well, you should have told the kids. And I'm like, but they've known this whole
Wasn't I a student teacher? Doesn't that mean that I will start and end?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, like, doesn't this mean this? But okay. I was
very specific about that with my students. I was like, this is her last day. Like, let's make sure that we say thank you for everything she's taught us.
And that's what you're supposed to do. That's how you're supposed to handle that. And also, it was high school, and I'm like, well, they're not like, if they were like the babies, I would have started prepping them. Like, okay, guys, we have one more week. But I'm like, it's high school. Half of the class, in the class that I kept the longest, half of them were seniors, and I'm like, they leaving too. Like, we're all just leaving together, so they know, they're aware. They have my email if they want to contact me, and I'm actually friends with 2 of them on Facebook to this day.
There you go.
And I'm just like, it was crazy. So that wasn't a helpful mentor situation. But I turned out great. If nothing else, it taught me what not to do.
Exactly. So there's still a learning experience happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to get into your Instagram page.
Yes.
The one that I found you by.
Yes.
So the amount of positivity, but not like the useless positivity where it's like, okay, just smile, everything's going to be fine. It's like, you know what? No, maybe it's not going to be fine. Maybe it's not. Yeah. Can we be realistic about this? And in particular, the one that first caught me was the one that essentially was like, I'm not trying to be the best at everything. I'm just trying to be the best at what I'm doing. And I'm like, yes to that, because too many people attempt that. And for educators specifically, that's put on us that we have to be perfect. And I'm like, let me tell you now, I'm not. I'm not even going to attempt to be. But what I bring to the table, I will be proficient at that.
Yeah.
So what sparked you wanting to have a page like this?
Okay. It's a little bit of a long story. But I think I know where to start. Okay. So and it might be long-winded, but I'll try to get to the point. Okay. So March 13th, 2020 happens, right? And they're like, hey, we're going on a break for 2 weeks. And in my head, I'm like, no, we're not. No, we're not. We're not coming back. How is this going to work? But we're not coming back, right? To the schools, and everything's going to be virtual, still has been, fast forward. What is the date? March 4th, 3rd?
10 days.
Yeah.
10 days.
Yes, it's 10 days.
I know, exactly. Can you believe it's been a year? Yeah. Right. So, and I think like that transition just for everybody was so hard for all of us, not just leaving school, just like everybody's personal lives like fell apart. We're stuck in our homes. Some of us are losing our jobs. Like, just like our morale is like from here, if it was at that high, it's just, there's no morale left. There's nothing. And I think I'm a person who sometimes, to a fault, I'm like, let's find the bright side of things. Like, how do we still make lemonade out of lemons? And that was just something that I really started to care about and think about, as also because I had the time in March, and kind of throughout the spring, and then following, the rest of the year. And I just kind of on my personal Instagram page just started kind of trying to be a positive light and saying like, it's okay if this sucks. And we just have to acknowledge it. And at the same time, I started my dancer Instagram, and I was kind of shy with it at first. Like, do I really have the expertise to have this Instagram page? Do I know what I have? Like, can I offer people? My leg doesn't go up here. like I'm not doing triple pirouettes. I'm not anymore. I do practice them, but I can't whip them out like on the spot. I just can't. So I was definitely kind of struggling with a little bit of imposter syndrome when I first started out there. And I kind of like held back, and, I post some things here and there, some content of just dances, pictures, dancing, things like that. But come 2021, I really was like, okay, I want to be able to make connections through this page, possibly open up new opportunities. And how am I going to do that? And what am I good at? What are my strengths? And so I thought about like, what are going to be some of them? What is my main content going to be for my Instagram page? And I sort of revamped it and was like, okay, I've been doing kind of this positive stuff like on my personal page. What if I take some of that and really figure out how I can encourage other dance teachers and also dancers, the dancers that I teach right now, and then also my colleagues, or just anybody like you guys that are out there that are also dance teachers, dance educators, choreographers who I know can relate to this, and also just may need a word of encouragement, or practical skills and tips too, right? So a lot of times when I think about what it is I want to say, I'm like, what would I want to hear? Right. Or if I was a young dancer, what did I need to hear that I wasn't told? And so particularly that post about I'm not trying to be the best was definitely for anybody who needed to hear it. And also a little bit for me as like to keep pushing myself. We definitely doubt ourselves. And I think especially with social media too, social media is not real. Like we know that, right? But it's still the comparison is real, right? Like, am I out there? Can I be this choreographer? Can I be this dance teacher, even though I can't do a solid triple pirouette all the time? And I was like, I don't know if I can, but do you know what? Like, I do know that I know what I'm talking about sometimes. Like, I know that I have something to offer. Okay. And I know that I know that my students are learning because I have seen their progression. I've been at my school for 8 years, and I've seen students who could never do, let's talk about pirouettes again, a single pirouette, do a solid double pirouette by the time they're done. They've never had any other dance experience. I mean, that's progress, right? So doesn't that show that I have some sort of expertise, and I know that I know what I'm talking about, and that I've been here, and that I've put in the work and the research, and I can give you a quality product, whatever that product is. That's just really where that came out of. I was like, it's okay we just have to acknowledge sometimes that we're not going to be the best, but that we're going to do our best. So.
Like, I absolutely love, it's funny because you just essentially, I'm taking a business class right now, business course. And that is almost verbatim what I kind of get reamed out for is like imposter syndrome is real. Yes. And it's like, oh, well, do I really know? Like, it's that, who am I to tell you this is how you should do this, or you should try this? And it takes me a while to get to, like, it is a roundabout way. And then at some point it's like, you know what? Actually, no, I actually really do know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm actually highly qualified. I'm skilled in this. Can I do that triple on the spot? Not at all. Not at all. But can I give you things that you can tell your students to help them do it? Yes. Yeah. I got that. So my favorite example of that, switch leaps.
I'm actually very good at that.
Oh my God. Let me tell you, it was one solid time in undergrad, one solid that it was,
but it mattered.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about the one time the teacher was paying attention was when I did it. And I was like, she saw it. Yes, we're out here. And then I didn't have to do it no more after that. And so I did not. I'm like, I will never again do one unless you make me. But am I good at breaking it down so my students know how to do them? Yeah. I've taught many a child how to do them, and it is nice to see. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Now, can I
Right.
be up there? No, me and Leaps were never friends. Same with turns. Floor work all day. I
Yes.
got you. Oh,
Do
partnering
the floor work.
all day. I got you on those. But the rest of it, I was like, I can talk it through though. I know the mechanics. I can teach it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's owning that, which, still a work in progress. I'm still working on this.
Me too. 100% me too.
Yes.
I
It's
just
like
have
the
decided
ownership.
this is the year that what
Yes.
other people think about me doesn't matter. In 2021, what other people think of me
Yeah.
doesn't matter. And I'm just, if a video ends up going wrong, I'll take it down. Right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to try. We have to try.
Like, and I love that mentality of, you know what? I don't care. I know this thing and I'm gonna talk about it. Like this is what I know I'm good at. Let me talk about it. And I will say, Daryl's on this list of people. I'm gonna just add you to this list of people, just heads up. So part of my offerings are workshops specifically for students. I don't mind working with the teachers and like giving resources, all that stuff. But I love to come in and work directly with the students because sometimes they just need a different perspective to kind of pull something. And then I'm like, there they have it. Now go be blessed. Work with them on what you needed them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent out a survey to some of my former colleagues and I was like, what am I good at? And it was insane how many people were saying the exact same things that I personally am like, I wouldn't have said it. I wouldn't have told you that helping kids with choreography or improv is my thing. I just love it. But that carried across into kids that it's like, how do you get your kids to emote? Because I emote. And I'd be like, that's not good enough. Run that back. Okay, think of this. Picture this moment. Let's do an exercise. Let's walk through this. And I'm like, I will try to find 5 to 10 different ways to say the same thing because how I explain it to Meredith may not be what Daryl needs. Mm-hmm. So let me make sure I'm catching as many people as possible. And then they got to the point where they could do that with each other. And then I was like, yay, job accomplished. So now I can just teach my choreography because y'all know how I am. You know what I look for. You know how to make those connections. And when everyone was responding that, my jerky reaction was, I mean, that's not a big deal. That's just what I do. Like, that's not special. And I had to get fussed out in this class with her saying, she was like, you do realize the fact that they said that and that they would want you to come in and work with their kids means it is special. Not everyone can do it. And I'm like, oh, really? Oh.
And now I want you to come in and work with my kids on that.
Yeah.
It's like, I love it. Like, it is just so fun to me. Like that, my favorite thing of teaching is that aha moment. When you see that light bulb cut on for them, that they finally got that movement or they finally understand what the piece is about. They finally were able to choreograph something and see their vision come to life. I'm like, yes, I want you to feel the same joy I feel doing this.
Right. And that's why we do what we do too. Yes. I mean, and it is a process of like getting there and pulling it from our kids and getting the buy-in. But that is why that's what we want. That's why we do this.
Literally that buy-in is serious, especially now, because so many students they're not buying into much of anything anymore. Like,
it's hard right now.
Oh, it's so rough right now. And I'm actually doing a post. So by the time this airs, my post would have went up. I'm just saying. And like literally it's about that I'm just like, yeah, no, but we're still in the pandemic, y'all. Like, it's still happening.
Yeah.
And kids are checked out because adults are checked out. Like, we're all tired of it. So what are some things you can do to get them to still make these connections, to get them to buy back in. Because it is hard. And then like, especially because it's happening for me on the collegiate level, but I know like, especially like high schoolers, some of them, home life, they needed this outlet. Like they needed to be in a building. Like they needed that getaway. Yeah. And so even though for a lot of them, dance used to be, or it could be like that thing that they really latch onto, they don't have it in the environment that they need it in. And so it's like, okay, well, what are some things we can do to pull that way? Because they can't move out. Like they live there. And so it's like, okay, well, what can we do? And I think some teachers kind of skip that aspect. I'm like, no, that's important. The same way it was important when we were in person. It was important what home life was like then, even more so now. Yeah. Because now they can't get away. Yeah. So what can we do to bring them, like, at least for however long our class is, just let them have that little bubble of time that it's like, you know what? I'm invested in this because this is what I'm getting out of it. And this is one of the only ways I can have something that's just me. Yeah. 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 No. Go ahead.
No. You're good.
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like I'm constantly going back to that question of like, what do they need right now? And we know that they needed dance. Because they're the ones, especially like with high schoolers, they're the ones that come back and take our classes, right? So we end up seeing these kids. They start with us freshman year, maybe skip a semester or two, but practically all 4 years. At least that I do. And I'm assuming, Daryl, that that's probably the same, and maybe your experience too, truly. But so we get to know these kids, and we're like, we know they needed this class, that they love this class, that they actually do like to dance. But we can't give it to them in the same capacity. And so it's like, I'm always asking that question, like, how do I make this class meaningful for them right now? And I feel like I'm like sort of running out of ideas, but then like coming up with a new one like next week, and it's like, we'll try it. And I mean, at this point, it's like your technique doesn't have to be perfect, and it never had to be anyway. But we're not focused on that. Like, my thing is like, let's see if we can if all you have is this space right here in this chair, like, how can we still move? And I just feel like I'm still trying to give them those opportunities. Is how do we still move, and how do we find meaning, and how do we stay motivated too?
Yeah, I know the teacher motivation also, because like you said, like, you can come up with something and it works great for a while. And then when that stops working, like, then we have to try to figure out, like, okay, what else can I do? Which burns us out. So it's a lot.
Yep.
It has definitely been a lot.
Kind of year.
Oh my God. And it really has been a year of this. What's funny, going back to what your first thought when things were shut down, they were like, just 2 weeks. I kept hoping for the best. I was like, okay, maybe a month. Okay, maybe just one more week. I was like, all right, y'all. I was like, I think we're not going back. Yeah. It's like, I'm looking at my kids in my house, and I'm like, oh, y'all live here, huh? Like, y'all really not about to go back up in this building? Maybe in the fall.
Oh yeah, I know. I was like, we could still have a dance concert. Like, we totally could. It can be in June. Like, we can do this.
Yeah.
Like, we can, right? Definitely. Even though I was like, no, we're not coming back. But I think we could. Like, I will throw something on stage. Like, I can do that.
Yeah.
I was like, that I know how to do. We can make the show happen. But can we please make the show happen? Like, can we do that, please? Because
it was so heartbreaking.
Oh, man.
It still is heartbreaking.
It is. Like, the seniors last year, minus the fact that I just didn't like some of them. Daryl knows the story. I'll tell you later. Besides that part, like, the seniors as a whole, I was like, this is not how you thought senior year was going to end for you. That sucks really bad. And then like going into their freshman year of college, and it's still kind of like this.
Yeah.
And then the seniors this year, that there was always like just dangling that carrot, like it might.
Yeah.
And so like my oldest is a senior, and I was like, sir, you're not going. Like, let's just let this go. Like, sorry. I would love for there to be, if they could figure it out safely, an actual graduation. Yeah. And then, you know, like obviously you can't invite the whole family, which is cool. Low key probably wasn't going to anyway. Right. Like y'all can come to the after party. But now even that, I'm like, y'all can do a Zoom call with him. That's fine. I'm okay with that. And thankfully, like my son's not really social. He has his group of friends and he's like, I'm good. He wasn't planning on going to prom. Like he wasn't planning on doing the senior trip. He was not planning on doing any of it. So I'm like, okay, this works for you. Yeah. But I know the majority, this is not it. Like this is not what they wanted for senior year.
I think a lot of them are maybe resolved to it. Maybe. There's definitely a few that are still holding on, but some of them are like, can we just go to college then? Yes. Like, can we just
let this go? Because clearly, can we just let us leave? And like we don't have. Do y'all have graduation dates yet?
Yes.
I don't think PG has.
No, we don't. PG does not, because I check.
Okay, regularly. So I will say the only reason that we probably do have our set is our school, like in our county, is strange. And I say that because we have our graduation at our school. And I don't know if you guys do that in PG County. I know other counties don't necessarily do that. Mm-hmm. And Anne Arundel County is like getting away from it, but it's this tradition in Pasadena to like have your graduation at Northeast High School. So for us, I think it's an interesting tradition. I think it's strange. Yeah. I'm like, don't you all want to go like somewhere else and like make it like
a thing?
Feel nicer, I guess. Yeah. But I mean, Pasadena is this small town, tight-knit community. And I think for them, that's how they're like, this is nice for us. Like, this is what builds our community. This is how we, like, everybody can come out. And, you know, they're all their family. They're so related, interconnected to their family and the community that I think it does make sense. And it's nice for the community. It's still 8 years later. It's like still a little bit of a foreign concept to me.
Yeah.
But so I think that's why ours is set, is like, we don't have to, I mean, we do have to worry about, the crowd, like capacity level, but it's just going to be at our school, and it's always held outdoors, which means it's always so hot. People always pass out.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's a whole debacle every year.
My favorite thing of graduation is like the girls who will be wearing like the heels that they wore to prom, because I guess they're trying to get their money's worth, and they can't walk in heels, and it is hilarious. It's like a newborn calf every time.
Yes.
That was always the highlight of graduation for me.
Yeah.
Agreed. I love it.
Yeah. I've been in some small towns where it's a very similar thing, where it's just part of the culture that, you know, you're on the football field behind the school or down the street from the school, and everybody's there, you know, and all the little kids and all the relatives are all out there sweating.
Yes. Yep.
Sweating our little butts off, but you know. But I wanted to also go back to what you were saying with the posts that Truly saw. And just to say, I really do relate to kind of that, just almost like that need for perfection, or that desire for perfection, or the perfection that is placed on us. I think especially just within the dance, not just educators, but as dance educators. And, you know, I come from Texas. I taught in Texas for 9 years before coming to PG. And, you know, Texas is really huge on precision dance, is very big on like your drill teams, and, you know, people have, and it's all about the competition in the spring, right? And most schools, every school always goes to that, and what's I found so nice about being here is that it's a little bit more concert dance oriented. Like the expectation is like, you're doing two to three concerts a year, whereas in Texas, it's like you're doing 3 to 4 competitions a year, and then you're doing like a concert at the end, which is not as big. People really want the competition, not the contest. But with these competitions though, which is really like, when we think of like band or choir who goes and does those adjudications, it's even more pressure, right, for your students to be perfect. And I think that I don't know, sometimes I feel like the artistry in dance is lost in those moments because it's all about, beating a score sheet, right? And scoring enough points. And so to do that, it's all about, your costuming. It's about a formation. It's about doing some turning disc, or, can our entire team do turning seconds and have them timed perfectly, right? And so when your team does not do that, or when your group does not do that, then it feels like, well, am I a good dance teacher? Because my team can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, my team, we can all do a single very beautifully.
That's a beautiful thing.
It should be a beautiful thing, right? And sometimes I'm just like, well, is that going to score us enough points? Probably not, but that's okay because nobody really, and like you, I think, I'm lucky enough to teach in a school, which I love teaching at schools like this, where I love teaching kids that have zero dance experience. Like I don't want you coming to me being like, oh, I can do like my switch leap game is like amazing. I can do those triples on the spot twice if you ask me to. I enjoy like, all right, let's learn how to walk to the beat. Let's learn what a pivot turn is. Dance 1. Let's go. And let's perform on stage. Let's look sometimes a hot mess, because you know why? They're gonna walk off that stage and be like, oh my God, that was the best experience ever. Yeah. And then they'll be like, oh, I'm definitely taking this next year. And I feel like those are the ones that, I mean, this is my 4th year at High Point. And actually my first time being at a school for 4 years.
So you have your babies that you raised.
I have raised. This is the first time in my career that I have seen
such a good year. That's a good year.
That I have actually seen the progress, right? Like I've been places 3 years where it's like, okay, well, you're a senior next year. Bye.
Yeah.
I'll come watch you. But it's really cool to see those kids. And are they perfect dancers? No, but they definitely have made a ton of progress. And I think that, even in those moments, both pre-COVID and post-COVID, I would love to see more, hopefully, dance teachers really appreciate the growth of their students and not always feel like, if you don't have that student that's going off to college to dance, if you have dancers that are appreciative of the art form, I think we talked in another episode about like, we're really just training our next audience members, right? Like, if anything else, these are going to be people who appreciate dance. These are going to be people who may have a son or daughter one day that may want to dance, and they can speak in a positive way as to what dance has done for them. So I think if we can always keep that in mind, and not necessarily about, the double turns or the perfect switch sleeps or
And I think like it just becomes that question of like, that's kind of like the mission, or is our mission, right? As not only just dance educators in the public schools. I think that is part of our mission, because we do end up with those kids very much who They've never experienced dance. They may or may not, depending on the school system, have had it in middle school, but really like they don't have the opportunity to pay and take a dance class outside of school. And so it is, okay, we're taking those beginner dancers and then we're teaching them skills. But we're also just teaching them, we are teaching them how to move. We're teaching them that art form. And it's important to be able to raise dancers who don't do dance for the perfection of it. They just, they find joy in movement and they learn about the creativity of that. And I do think that is important. The perfectionism is good. It is a competitive art form at times, but it doesn't have to be the only thing. Right. Or that's not what makes you a credible person. Yeah. Doing those triple pirouettes or those switch leaps doesn't have to make you credible. It certainly makes you talented and that's great, but that doesn't have to be the only measure that we're looking at success or way that we're looking at success. And I think like everything you just said, Daryl, really resonates with me. I feel very strongly about those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I, same, definitely. And it reminds me of, slightly shady, that's how I live. That I'm like, to me, it doesn't take really anything to teach students who already know what to do. And so I'm not saying that I don't enjoy working with students who already have previous training or setting work on them, because it's minimal effort from me at that point. Cause I'm like, oh, I can just throw these things out there. You know what to do. You got it. Yeah. But to have that baby who comes to you freshman year, has never danced, and by senior year, you got them to that place that you got them to where you're like, okay, I need you to go do this performance real quick. Improv, make it work. You got this. Represent for us. Yeah. They can. And then they're auditioning for different programs and trying out for different companies, and they're getting in. To be able to do that, to me, is just a better feeling, because and it's not even, and I've said this multiple times and I will always believe this, I don't want the credit in the sense of, oh, send me some money when you make it big, make sure you shout me out. I'm like, you can give me like a head nod, name drop every blue moon, but just being able to see that they have been able to accomplish all these things that they didn't think were possible initially, that they've had family and friends tell them that weren't possible for them to do, and to see them do it. And I'm just like, told you so. Like, that's my moment for me, is that it's an I told you so, that I'm like, but I told you that if you really focused on this, or if you made this little tweak, or if you, go to this audition, you make sure to ask these types of questions, then you're going to get exactly what you want out of this. Will you always get the gig? No. Will you always be like cast in every piece? Will you be able to get in every program? Not at all. Not promising that. But you will grow in a way that you didn't know was possible. And when they see that, and when they come back, that the comeback and thank you is close second. I love to see it. But when they come back and they're like, no, but for real, thank you. Because when I got there and they said, do this, I was like, oh, she already taught me that. I'm good. Yeah. I'm like, that's all I wanted. I just wanted you to be ready. I just wanted you to be okay. Like, that's all I wanted out of this. Like, that's it. Like, I love it. My puppy is always disrespectful. Like, he don't be barking unless I'm doing things involving
that's always
conversations.
Yes.
I think to that point too, like, technique will come, right? Like, we can always strive to have better technique, but it's the artistry that is, that's the harder part. And it's weird. It's the harder part, but then also you can take someone who's had absolutely no experience and you're like, I can mold you in this way. And then you can also add the technique on. Like, or you can go, like, another teacher will come and teach you the technique better, but you've had that artistry training already. And it's okay if, like, that teacher's strength was technique. That's a good thing. We need teachers like that. So,
oh my God, to your point, and this is like full circle. Come in doing what it is you are best at. We don't have to be great at all of it. I will not get you through a ballet audition. It ain't me. That is not my testimony. That's not what I bring. But if you are going to have an improv component, if you're going to have to learn movement and you know you're going to need to connect and be able to emote and really pull out what they're asking, I got you all day. That's what I bring. And so that's what I need to focus on. And then the person who is that technician, they can come in and it's just adding to, at the end of the day, the student gets the most benefit out of it. Because now they have all these building blocks that they can start stacking and like making the best out of their dance education. And then
so like that they can, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Say so that they can say that they had good dance training from teachers. It's not teacher. It's teachers.
Exactly.
There should not be nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
Because it's about their dance training. It's not always about me.
Yeah.
Say that again for the people in the back.
Yeah. It is about literally dance training. It is not always about me.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my. Yes. I am fulfilled from this conversation right here.
I am too. Oh gosh, I could sit and talk about dance and dance education and dance training and artistry all day long.
Yes. Yeah. I just always love when I come across someone else who's like, yes, I agree. And I'm like, yes, it's not just me. Because people be having me thinking I'm crazy when I'm like, it's not really about me. I'm like, I'm good I say real slick stuff all the time, but at the end of the day, I'm like, but are my kids successful? That's all I really care about because I'm going to get paid regardless.
Yeah.
That I can promise you. I'm going to get paid either way. So why not get paid and know that I've made a difference in someone's life?
Right.
Like, why? Yeah. Why not? I don't understand the mentality of not being like that. I know a few teachers that are like that, and I'm just like, I don't get it. But also, I'll be fair, still shady, but fair. Students need to see those types of teachers too.
Yeah.
Because the same way I learned from my student teacher that this is not how I want to be when I start teaching, and this is not how I want to be as a mentor, kids need to see that you're not always going to have the opportunity to have someone who really puts your education first. They're not always going to behave in the best manner. And all you can do is address how you respond. And the sooner they learn that, the easier that lesson is as you progress because you already know. And, it sucks, but it is a good lesson to learn that, you might have this teacher, like, I'm not gonna hold you. I haven't cussed the kid out. I haven't done that. I have not, but I have cussed in a rehearsal 100%. I 100% have. I will do it to this day. They have slipped out. Sometimes I would remember to apologize. And sometimes I was so in that zone that I'm like, I'm just talking. And they would come back later. They're like, Ma, did you know you said? I'm like, shut up. I said, what? Oh my God, I am so sorry. Like that.
I was seeing red.
I was like, I was not directing that at you. It was at the situation. And 99% of my dancers would be like, we know, but also anybody walking by would have heard you. It was like anybody walking by. And like, because like my kids call me mom and they were like, Mom, you went off and we just needed you to know that was wild. And I'm like, my bad, y'all. I love you though. They're like, we love you too. That's what we're telling you. Like, yeah, that was wild. But even me being able to say to them like, that my bad. I did not mean it to come off like that. In my head, I'm just talking and I'm just trying to get the info out. And I don't always stop and think, how am I delivering it? I've been like that my whole life. Am I going to fix it? Probably not. But I am aware. And so it has gotten better.
Yeah.
But even them seeing that, I think helps to humanize teachers for them. because sometimes they forget that we're people. We make
Right.
mistakes.
Yeah.
And the same
Yeah.
way, if they mess up that, I'm like, okay, yes, that part was wrong. Okay, this is how we're going to fix it. Okay, now run it back. The same way that I'm like, okay, I'm giving this grace and I'm not immediately cutting you out of the piece. We need that also. And that can translate into when they get out into the world and they're working on pieces and they're teaching classes, that they'll be able to do the same with their students, that they'll be able to say, you know what? Yeah, I was wrong. Or, you know what? I said what I said. I meant it. However, I did not mean to offend you. I didn't mean to hurt you by saying it. I was trying to say this, but I can see how you saw it that way. So I do apologize. And that type of development and growth, it is important for them, especially in this field, because some teachers are actual mean and don't care about your feelings at all. You'll never hear an apology because they'll never acknowledge that they were out of pocket. Like they'll just be like, I don't care. So I think it is good for them, but man, just like seeing kids get it though, I will never stop loving that.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
All right. Oh, thank you so much. First of all, that came back full circle. I approve.
Yes. It feels so good, doesn't it?
Like I love when things just kind of tie up themselves. Thank you again, Meredith, for joining us. If you would be so kind as to tell our followers where they can follow you.
Sure. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really, really enjoyed talking to you guys. This was just like, this really like filled my cup today. So I definitely think I needed that. So I really appreciate that. So if you guys want to go ahead and give me a follow, it's at msibsdance on Instagram. I can spell that MSIBS dance on Instagram. Please, I would love to connect with you all more on there. I feel like that's what I'm about right now, just trying to make some lasting connections, keep inspiring, keep helping people feel positive and know that they should be confident in what they can do in their abilities.
And 100%, y'all make sure, if nothing else, go in order to get your feel of, yes, be positive, realistic positivity. I am here for it. Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us yet again here at Dance Talk Realness. Make sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe at all the places where you can find us. Y'all know I'm just keep saying when I add stuff, I'm going to add stuff. So I don't even know why I bring it up no more, but I'm working on it. It is a work in progress. Not going to give you no dates though. When it happens, you'll know. We'll just go ahead and drop that info. But if you have any questions for us or for our awesome guests, feel free to drop us a line at any of the platforms. And yeah, if you have any suggestions, feel free to leave those too. And we look forward to bringing some fresh new content next week. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.